What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we got Kevin of Eskimo Callboy. Thank you for your time today.
Yeah, hello, Alex. Thank you for having me.
Yep.
It's good to be with you.
Yep, great to be with you as well. How's everything out there in Berlin?
Yeah, it's pretty hot at the moment. That's why I cracked one open. It's getting hotter and hotter as it seems, but we're trying to get along. We're not used to that weather, you know? We're Germans, we're German potatoes, we like it cold and rainy.
Yeah, well, my family is from Bavaria, so I know exactly what you mean. Cold and rainy and dark.
I feel you, yeah.
Yep. But it's so awesome to have you here. You have the new EP, MMXX, scheduled to come out in September. What I was curious is, could this almost serve as maybe a clear representation of what the follow-up to Rehab is going to sound like, or is this kind of just a one-off thing for Eskimo Callboy?
No, it's not a one-off. It's rather going back to the roots of Eskimo Callboy, you know? When we started writing songs at the beginning of the year, we wouldn't know what's going to happen next. We didn't know about COVID. We didn't know about quarantine and this lockdown situation that we're in at the moment. So we just wrote new music. And actually, we aimed for a complete album. And when COVID kicked in, we pretty fast realized that it's not the time to wait for new music till next year. We were very productive since we couldn't go anywhere. We were just in our studio writing new stuff, and that made us very creative. And working together with our new guy Nico was a bless. And so a lot of new songs came out very, very soon, and we wanted to put all that on an EP, and we had several songs ready or quite ready for our album that was planned, but we picked our favorites together that would give a good mixture of Eskimo Callboy in 2020 and put it on that EP that is called 2020 MMXX, and we're pretty satisfied with it.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that it's kind of going back to the roots of Eskimo Callboy. So are these songs maybe going to be reminiscent of what we heard off of Bury Me in Vegas or We Are the Mess, etc.?
A little bit, but I would call it a little bit... It might sound ridiculous, but it's a little bit more mature, even if it makes you laugh and we look stupid in the video, but that's the point. We aim for that. So, but I think the sound, the overall sound and the overall production of everything has gotten better, and we know better what we're doing. So we still we like to have fun, but in a more professional way. So when we wrote Hyper, for example, we didn't know what was going on, you know, we just started writing lyrics and music and another breakdown, and we need some bass drums and some techno beats there, and at some point this song was ready, and it was ridiculous. We knew that it would be ridiculous or hilarious for the people to listen to it or to even watch it, but we liked it and we felt good with it, and we knew that in this sad situation we were in at the moment that this would be a little bit of an upper for all the people sitting in quarantine, you know?
Yeah, we definitely need art that has some sense of humor and some positivity behind it. I mean, you have a lot of creative bands who are just making death metal and black metal that's incredibly brutal and serious and not messing around, and it's all great, but I think it's great to have music that has a little bit more of a positive vibe around it as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That is exactly what made us start this band back in 2010. We all grew up with heavy and brutal music, and but we didn't like this angry behavior around it. You know what I mean? I know that all the artists in death metal bands and whatever, they are not angry at all, but they act angry, and metal was always associated with angry people, black dressed people, and we didn't like that too much, so we tried to put some more colors into metal, you know. At first people didn't like us at all for that try, but after 10 years they can't get away, so they have to just tolerate us, and they do. So even on the big festivals in Germany or on the world, like the big festival Wacken here in Germany, it's full of metalheads, but they already know us and they like us, and so everything's fine for us.
Yeah. Well, you know what I've noticed is because even though you do have a great sense of humor behind your music, I always found that your music is to be very technically impressive. Like when I first heard Hypa Hypa, I was like very impressed with the riffs and the vocal performances on it. And then like even when I heard like albums such as Crystals or We Are the Mess, like it almost seemed like there was a lot of technical excellence. So I'd imagine that when you're writing music, there has to be some form of seriousness involved, right? Or do you just try to? Okay, so there are serious moments even for Eskimo Callboy.
Absolutely. So that is one thing that I sometimes dislike because, to be honest, we're a band. We're not political. We're always for the good mood. We're always for the happy times in life, but that doesn't mean that we're always happy and we're always in good moods. You know what I mean? And after 5 studio albums, there had to be here and there some songs that are more serious, and we did write these songs, but people they didn't want to include these songs to the imagination of Eskimo Callboys. Whenever we're in interviews, sometimes they just call us this party metal band. You know, we can be party, we can be happy, and I'm pretty sure people know us for our party songs, but there is still another side of Eskimo Callboy. And yeah, that's for example, this is why we put Hate Love, our second single, on this EP. Different side of Eskimo Callboy. It's not like Hypa Hypa, not to say very different, but it's part of our band. So yeah, that's very important for us.
Yeah. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is also is this the first offering that has Nico, your other vocalist, incorporated in it as well?
Yeah. He was. When did we start? So to be honest, we started writing new songs from January on, and Nico joined us. The next single will be the second part of our single MC Thunder. It's kind of a sequel that we're gonna bring out, and this song was ready before Nico joined us. But from then on, for Hypa Hypa, Hate Love, and he totally joined us and was within the creative process of the band, and he helped us a lot. I mean, this easiness was back, you know, that we lost over the years. So he was totally with us, and he was a good help.
Yeah, and I'd imagine, like, when he joined Eskimo Callboy, did you want him to kind of look at the earlier work and kind of maybe adjust his vocal style, or did you want Nico to kind of bring a little bit of his own mix into Eskimo Callboy?
Absolutely, that was always the maxim for him. He didn't want to copy our old singer. He wanted to adapt the old songs. He wanted to, of course, he has to sing the old songs, of course, but he's his own individual singer, and and he interprets. Is it called interprets the song his own way? Can I say that?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Sorry for my English. So that was always important to him, and I think he managed to do that very well. For the new songs, of course, he can bring in his very unique way of singing and his own style. For example, just a little example, the sing-alongs sing part in Hypa Hypa, where he sings something like "You're alone on the dance floor." That is absolutely his way of singing, and that would have never happened with the old formation of Eskimo Callboy. So this is his way to bring himself into the band. I think I really like that way.
Yeah. When it comes to having bands that have two vocalists, I like asking this, you know, because whether it's bands such as Lacuna Coil or We Came as Romans or bands with multiple vocalists, when it comes to tracking the vocals or writing music, do you guys almost have to be on the same level emotionally in order to, like, make the song sound coherent?
Yeah, it's good when it happens, but you can not always make this happen, you know, because sometimes you feel a connection to start from the beginning, or to start from the beginning. We always start with a riff or an instrumental, in the most of the times. So you not always feel connected to one of those instrumentals, you know. So you listen to it, and on the one hand, you have this one song, you feel a deep connection, and you have some lyrics in your head, some words that would fit at this time and in this verse or whatever. And on the other hand, there are songs that you don't feel connected to at all. But this is the good thing when you have two singers. Sometimes it happens that you just split and you work on your each separate songs. That happens, of course. But I have to say, and I don't have too much experience with working with Nico, but for these EP songs, I could work perfectly with Nico. Like every song was made by, almost every song was made by us together. We just threw the balls to each other. It worked perfectly like a ball game, and felt good. I don't know. Of course, it's music has always something to do with emotions, and most of the times you can't direct your emotions or control them too much, and you just let them go. But I feel very comfortable with working with Nico, and I'm pretty sure he is as well. So.
Yeah. And you let me perfectly into my next question, because as a vocalist, do you need to hear music before you come up with lyrics, or is there ever a time where maybe like lyrics or a concept could help influence the music itself?
So to be honest, most of the times it's first the instrumentals. I listen to the music, and then the song tells you what to write about. You know, it has a mood, whether it is a happy song or a sad song, and but sometimes I have a topic that I want to write about, and then they try to create some sounds around these words. For example, there has been a song on our old record, which is Supernova, and I had this word supernova in my head, so I sang along this little melody, and we tried to put a song around it. This was one of the few times that the vocals were first, but actually we always start with an instrumental, and this instrumental gives you an idea of what and the melody and everything that follows, you know.
Mm-hmm. And I've noticed that there are like many different vibes like behind your work. Like just on this new EP alone, to go from hypa to hate love to really like just drama queen and all this, like it almost feels like these are representative of many different emotions that you and the rest of the band were feeling at a particular time, right?
Absolutely. And this is one point when all the party songs have been written by Eskimo Callboy, there was one point in our band's history when we started to realize that we should use our voice for some more serious topics, and that was exactly. It's of course it's a little bit harder for us Germans, native speakers, to put together a song with a serious topic, you know, with some deeper lyrics. But we always tried. I think since We Are the Mess, we tried to implement some more serious songs, and this gives a little bit of an equality between those two kinds of personalities in Eskimo Callboy, for example, you know?
Yeah, you guys have the opposite of what most bands in metal have. If a very angry metal band writes a happy song, they're considered to be sellouts. But if you guys write a very serious song, that's you guys selling out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? When we had some really hard times when we started that band because nobody took us seriously, and I couldn't even blame all those guys. But after all those years, and after all those years of trying out everything in every genre, and people still stuck with us, we're very free to do whatever we want. You know what I mean? Like, for example, there's a funny story. We have a song called VIP, and this song was written during the songwriting process for Crystals, and we liked that song, but we didn't feel like putting it on an Eskimo Callboy album. We wrote that song, we were totally convinced that this song is cool, but we didn't put it on the album because we thought it wouldn't be a proper Eskimo Callboy song. And after 3 years of writing a new album, The Scene, this song came up again, and everybody still liked it, and so we worked a little bit on it, and we put it on the scene, and nobody complained. It's one of our best live songs, and that teacher that taught us to always do what we want, because only when you like your own stuff, and only when you stand behind what you're doing, you can be authentic, and only when you can, people can like you, you know?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
You can't be a sellout if you're convinced by what you're doing.
Absolutely. And I've always considered Eskimo Callboy's music to be fairly experimental. I don't know how you feel about that label, but like, you know, like you have elements of metal, you have elements of like, you know, electronica in there. I feel like really there's almost no rules when creating new music, right?
Absolutely. And this is, when we wrote our third album or something, it was what do the people want us to write? You know, do the people want to hear? And this was the beginning of a very hard time, because that set some borders and limits in our minds, and that limited our creative process, and that made it really hard for us to write new songs, because we all thought about what the people might like, but not what we like as musicians. And I think this is something that I would tell young bands now to always stick to their stuff and always do what they want, and not trying to copy another band or another style or whatever. Just do your own stuff and do your own thing.
Yeah, and with your sense of humor that you bring into like your live presence, and we kind of touched upon this before, because you obviously take the songwriting process very seriously, but do you try to maybe capture that like fun energy that you bring on stage? Is there any of that energy brought into the studio or the rehearsal space as well?
Absolutely. Sometimes it's hard, because music is our job, and we go to our studio on a daily basis, you know, and sometimes it's just work. I mean, it's everyday life, and sometimes you can't get away from that daily routine, and on tour it's something very different. When we play shows or on a tour, we're having another drink, and we're in a good mood, and we party, and it's something like a vacation of the year for the band. You know, it's not really hard work for us, it's more for our crew, but in the studio, it's the work for us, you know, because we have to come up with all the good ideas, and sometimes we strived too hard so that the fun was gone at some point, but then we learned that it's better to just sit down for a day, play a game, or play some FIFA on PlayStation or whatever, to feel the connection again, you know?
Yeah.
And this is not only a good solution for a band, but also for an office job, for example. When you always go hard, your productivity will go down at some point, and sometimes it's better to take a day off and just like recreate a little bit, and then go back to work and are at full throttle again.
Yeah. Do you almost feel like, in a way, especially with the imagery that I'm seeing for Hypa Hypa and everything like that, do you almost feel like, in a way, you're kind of portraying a character on the album or on stage?
Not on stage in general, but sometimes we definitely like to portray a character. I mean, the area where we live, it's called the Ruhr area, named after the big river that surrounds that area. There are a lot of different cities located very close to each other, and this area is known for being a little bit harsh and straight and direct speaking, you know. Some people might tell you we're not very nice or something, but it's a mentality in this area, and now I forgot to. What was the question again?
Yeah, we were talking about portraying a character on the album. It's actually very.
Yeah, exactly. And portraying this character in Hype Hype, for example, we didn't have to try too hard, because this is exactly how the people in our area look like sometimes, you know. So we were acting, so it was totally fine for us. But you're right when you say we're sometimes try to create new characters on stage, because it's all about entertaining people with your music and with your show. And as Eskimo Callboy was not always about not only playing music on stage, but also making you have a good time, you know. And if it's not just the music, it's what I'm telling you on stage, or I'm making jokes, or acting weird, or whatever. You know what I mean? And these characters are just part of the game of Eskimo Callboy, I think.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Just obviously you have the new EP coming out this September. Is there just anything else? Obviously, thanks to a certain virus that shall not be named on my show. There's obviously live shows aren't happening now, but obviously when all this is over, is there a chance you could bring Eskimo Callboy to the States soon?
That would be so cool. I mean, Eskimo Callboy has been existing for 10 years now, and we've been in the States back in 2013, and we had such a good time. We played almost the whole country, and it was one of the best tours we've ever had. And it's always hard for a European band to get over to the United States, but with all the popularity around Hyper, and maybe our new EP, it would be such a good thing for us to come back maybe in 2021, and we would be so glad to be back then. And hopefully the people will like what we're bringing out in September, and then maybe we can see each other personally next year then, Alex.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Kevin of Eskimo Callboy, MMXX, the new EP coming out this September. Be sure to pick it up then when supplies last forever. We will see you next time on Heavy New York.